Okay. Yay. I am so, okay. I am doing, I don't have podcasts, but when I see people that I've known before from a long time ago, or I just come across someone that just kind of like makes my life even brighter, I really want to share it with everyone else. So I want to introduce Karina Nielsen, who is, I had a reading with you. I don't know if it was 6 years ago, 7, somewhere around that. I was just starting to learn more about Lemuria, the Pleiades. I was feeling a lot of things along with some other of my friends. And so I think we were going to Spirit Weavers that year. Spirit Weavers is, a gathering of conscious women, I guess you could say, staying outdoors and just really connecting to the earth. And I feel like this was all kind of circulating around that time. And that's when I found you. And then I was so excited because I had, you gave me a reading and it just really connected me more with, all of this knowledge that I feel like I'm getting back up to speed with. So I just wanted to introduce you, if you don't mind just giving everyone, your background.
Oh, well, thank you, Brynn. I really appreciate this opportunity. And it's so great to meet your audience and to weave with all the people out there. I'm well, I'll just put it out there. I'm a Lemurian goddess light.
Yes, you are.
Which not everybody would know what that means, but I've been working on that part of me probably for the last 25 years. Before that, I was someone completely different, living in Europe for a while. I know you did too, Brynn. And, came back to my home, Hawaii, ostensibly to take care of my parents, but as they were getting older, and brought my husband back with me from Switzerland. But the real reason I think that I came back at that time, which was in the mid 90s, was to meet my mentor, who is my mentor now, Kahu Fred Sterling, and Master Guide Kirill, who led me to discover this, the wisdom of Lemuria. And Lemuria, just so we put it right out there in front, when we look at, and I'll hold up one of the books. Okay, so I could also say, before I start holding up books and things like that, that I eventually became the international events manager for Kahu Fred Sterling and Master Kirill, and managed their book publishing company called Lightways. And I was an English teacher, UH grad, that ended up in Europe. And here I come back, and I had no idea I would end up being an editor and a publisher. That really wasn't part of what I thought I would be doing. And then it was all about healing, because I got a sore shoulder and I started to think, well, how come I can't get rid of this? I mean, I had been, like a lot of people from Hawaii, I was really involved in sports and marathons and triathlons, and continued doing some of that in Europe. But when I came back, I ended up with the group of wonderful people at the Honolulu Church of Light. And they were wonderful, but they were completely different from any of my other circle of friends. They were real spiritual people. And I started to expand that spiritual part of me and understand that that I was a returning Lemurian. And so Lemuria, and I'm going to show one of the books that we published for Kahu Fred, and that is Kirill Lemurian Legacy for the Great Shift. And Kirill is my, Kahu Fred Sterling is a medium for Master Guide Kirill. And the two of them have been my guides for a long time. But on this cover, you're going to see the Hawaiian Islands, right? And so we believe that the mountaintops of Hawaii, or the Hawaiian Islands, are the mountaintops of ancient Lemuria. So Lemuria was an ancient society that was in the Pacific Ocean about 40 to 50,000 years ago. And they were on a similar evolutionary journey to what we are on now, moving from a third dimensional yin-yang society into a fourth light, the next dimension, right? And then opening to a fifth dimension. So the Lemurians actually moved in that evolutionary journey, much like we're doing now. And so here we are. And one of the other books by Kahu is The Great Shift. So that's where we learn about how we connect to the Lemurians. And that, you know, for example, when people come here, everybody thinks, the Aloha spirit, it feels so wonderful here. But really what they're feeling, I mean, this is my opinion, they're feeling the energy of Lemuria, which never left here. And though the waters rose to a certain point and the people all dispersed, it's time now to awaken that Lemurian energy again. So that is my journey, is to help people understand their evolutionary journeys. Now, they might not all be Lemurians. You know, you might be, you know, different people might be, you know, from other, you know, they might be elven, you know, or they might be galactic energies, or they might be goddess lights like me, trying to understand what is this love of creation that we feel within us awakening. So there's all kinds of journeys, but I find that the Lemurian wisdom that I'm doing readings for, you mentioned, and just talking to people about it, that is helpful to so many people. So I've shifted into that. Now, part of that, I have to say, is signature cell healing. And I think you could see the book up behind me there. I'm trying to do my finger, but
yeah.
Is signature cell healing is a Lemurian healing modality that Kahu Fred channeled and developed, and I was promoting his events of that around the world. So we traveled many different places, and as he got older, he decided about 5 years ago to kind of hand that over to me. And we have our own signaturecellhealing.com website, and I was doing workshops before everything shut down. So I often do online workshops, but eventually I'll be getting back out there to do the workshops again. So signature cell healing is a Lemurian healing modality, and that comes in really handy right now in our great shift in consciousness, when our four bodies, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, are shifting. And if you try and understand it, you know, we were talking before you started the recording about different shifting in the physical body. If you try and understand it from a third dimensional kind of traditional way, it's different. We're becoming light bodied, and therefore the foods that you talk about play in, because it enhances our light body. It's energy. We're eating live foods, and that really enhances the light body that we're all coming into now. So I think that's kind of a long introduction to me, but you know, I could also say I currently live in Kailua on Oahu. We're both on the same island, but different ends of it, and love it here. Been here since I came back from Europe. Yeah.
Well, I've been loving just one of the things too I've been loving is a lot of, you know, like my kahu or mentors, you know, and I consider, you know, you as a mentor too, because you've really shown me a different way of thinking, and so that is, you know, I thank you for that. And it's interesting because a lot of these people like yourself are really good at technology. They're on YouTube, they're doing Instagram lives, their website is just, you know, up to date with events and things. So I loved reading all of your blogs and everything that you do. And it's amazing how, you know, I feel like technology, like the Hokulea is using, you know, technology and spirit are connecting right now. And it's like the technology from the future, but it's also from the ancient past. And, you know, I've been getting a lot into frequency, you know, like crystals are frequency. Also, I've been holding my Lemuria.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, that's a nice one.
I love it so much. I thought it would, you know, also generate that energy here while we talk. And so I've just been very, I guess, inspired by a lot of these, you know, people who you think how do they know? How do they keep up with technology? I can barely even do what they do, but it's like, I think once you get in the flow, like the universe comes to co-create with you.
Right.
And that kind of leads me into this next, which is the consciously creating, because that is something too. I think we're creating what we want to have in the world now, from jobs, relationships. I mean, I know I've been going through that both heavy this time. It's like a concentrated boom, boom, both. And so really getting focused on what it is that we're consciously creating, and in a collaborative rather than competitive environment, feels like it's maybe Lemurian.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And that's great, because I didn't mention yet the way that the Lemurians governed, I use the word loosely, governed their society. They didn't have laws, and they didn't have legislatures or things like that. What they had was councils, and they had the 10 principles of consciously creating, which Master Guide Carolyn Kahu started kind of feeding those to those of us that were on staff in the late 90s into the early 2000s, and brought it all together as the 10 principles in the around 2001. And this book came out, which is like a guidebook for me, 10 Principles of Consciously Creating, from a lot of different sessions, a lot of channeled sessions, because this is all channeled wisdom through. And I think when you mentioned something before about the technology and how do people keep up with it, for me personally, it's channeled. You know, I am a channel and working on being a better medium. But what I find is if I'm using the 10 principles and I'm tuned in and I'm quiet and I have my healing focus, I can hear guidance and information that will help me to consciously create. So to get back to the 10 principles, the Lemurians use them, and it would be interesting to you because you have children, that they actually started their children with the first 3 principles, truth, trust, and passion, when they were toddlers. So, and you can read about that one in that other book, in the Lemurian book, where they talk about how did they raise their children in the 10 principles. So their whole society was permeated with these 10 principles. After they got truth, trust, and passion, which is the foundation for all of the principles, they moved into the 3 commitments, which helped them to grow into the teen years: clarity, communication, and completion. Wow. So if you have your clarity and your communication in balance, you are going to achieve completions and then be able to move on. So those 3 trinities just kind of weave with each other. And if you look at the logo on my website, if you look at in the Lemurian Wisdom blog, there's you can see the logo, the new logo for the 10 principles, and it's a weave. It looks like a wheel and a weave. Mm-hmm. So you have those 6 going. You bring in the 4 pillars, which are prayer, meditation, sleep state programming, and masterminding. And the masterminding is the people would say affirmations. I do affirmations or things like that. But you can't get to a mastermind statement really in clarity until you've run the other 9 principles through your statement. Because if it's not the truth, that, because, for example, when that book first came out I think in 2001, it was all new to us and everybody was trying them, and our lives were just shifting like this. And I had all these relationship problems with my family. I didn't really get along with my family. I mean, it was all very contentious. And then the 10 principles came in, and boy, I had to answer, what is truth? Do I trust that truth? What's my passion about it? And everything started to come into alignment for me. I mean, it's a never-ending evolutionary journey for all of us, especially for me. Yeah. But I mean, people were saying, well, it doesn't work for me, and I tried them and they don't work. And so I wrote this letter, which is in the beginning of that book, to Fred to tell them they're working for me and they're really shaking up my world. So, I mean, it's just about getting in there and weaving with it. And then you can work it. And it certainly works in a business format. Absolutely. Because the masterminding, and I saw your reaction to that. I mean, the masterminding is what we need to work with other people. So you would have a mastermind group, and everybody, for example, has their own mastermind statement. And I've been in many mastermind groups, and I've been in businesses with masterminds. I mean, the publishing company was like that. I've been in goddess groups. The Silver Wings of Light was a major goddess weave. We each have a mastermind statement, and then the group would have a collective mastermind statement for clarity on our collective purpose. Wow. And you would have a mission, vision, and things like that you might be familiar with. But then everybody has their own personal mastermind. And when you have it in a group like that, you can read your mastermind statement to the group, because everybody energizes your statement. And then somebody will come ask you from the group, well, what does that mean? Can you clarify this, or this? And then you realize, okay, well, I wasn't clear. That's principle 4. And so I better work on my communication or figure out, what is this about? So it's a powerful way of taking your journey to the next level, because it's going to shake up. I mean, for me, it shook up everything that I thought was true. And I had to I'm constantly checking in with that, what is the truth? And I think that's a lot of people, we're all dealing with that right now, because there's so much that is different levels of truth, levels of untruth, intentional untruth, or, people trying to bring through the truth. So where does that resonate with us in our hearts? Because if you go into a right, wrong kind of a situation, like that's not true, or that's untrue, then you're back in the 3rd dimension, and the principles are meant to take us into the 4th dimension, to the new dimension, right? Out of the yin yang, where it's good and bad. So there is one truth, and that truth will be love, and love will resonate with your heart, and you'll feel it. You'll feel your level of truth, and that truth level may change over time as you evolve. It probably will. So you cannot say, okay, that wasn't true before, but it's all about an evolutionary process. So yeah, the 10 principles, they're powerful. They're powerful.
And you're doing a mastermind group on that soon? Was that what you said?
I have mastermind group going. I'm in a goddess weave mastermind group. I also, so that there's that aspect. So I always like to have at least one mastermind group that I'm working with, because that helps me. If I do it on my own, nobody's reflecting it, reflecting my truth back to me. Right. And I need that. Everybody needs that. It does. I don't live in a vacuum. I want to evolve, and other people, our relationships, I believe, are what help us to evolve. And finding, when you're in the 10 principles, and you're in a mastermind group, it's understood, or you should make it understood, that everybody is going to come from their heart in love. And if you're in love, then you're doing your best to be in truth, and not undercutting someone or undermining someone. We're all there to support each other, and to be in truth and in love. And that gives you a feeling of a kind of a secure feeling that, okay, even though I disagree with that person, they're in love, and that's their perspective. So what can I learn from that? So that a goddess group is very good, because a goddess weave, and it's all women except for one man, and he's real evolved. So that is very helpful, because goddess light is all about love. And let me just say something about goddess light, because people might hear that and think, oh, that sounds very feminine or something like that.
Yeah.
And it is because goddess is the love of creator incarnate. And we all have that, especially the women, because we have the double X chromosome. So we are resonating to the 4 bodies. So think of it this way. If you think of the X chromosome like this, and this is the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual bodies, the 4 bodies, the X is in balance with the women. The men have the Y, and their emotional body is maybe not as expanded, but they can expand their emotional body and start to balance the XY, especially the Y. So what happens at times like this, because we're in a great shift in consciousness, and I used to say this 20 years ago when I first learned about it to people, and they said, oh yeah, right, that's real esoteric, and but I think most people, especially after this time of COVID and all of the upheaval and what we see out in the 3rd dimensional world, people understand that there is a shift in consciousness happening. And this is what the Lemurians were trying to tell us about and get us ready for. And when at times of great shifts in consciousness, there is an awakening of the goddess light, and the goddess light heralds a great shift in consciousness. So at the time in the late 90s, I joined a group of goddesses that started to do spiritual work around the world and ceremonies to release the energy of the 3rd dimension on the planet, and elevate the energy, the resonance on the planet to a higher level, and allow for a higher dimensional focus to come in. But everybody in their hearts have this goddess light. And as the great shift continues, people are gonna start to feel it now. And that's a love that you feel that has no opposites. You can't, sometimes when I feel it, I can't explain it. I'm speechless because it's so powerful. And so I feel so nurtured in it. And it encompasses everyone. And if you look at another person and you can see that love in their eyes, that's the goddess light. So it's not some kind of exclusionary group or anything. Everybody has it, but not everybody will choose to awaken it or work with it for especially for the planet's evolution.
I've never heard it explained like that, so thank you. I'm
welcome.
taking a lot of notes.
Great.
I'm a note taker.
Yeah, very good. Me too.
Well, I would love to delve more into that, in a specific way, taking each of the principles at some point in the future. I'm in two goddess groups, I guess you could say. One is a manifesting group, and we've been together for 2 years. We started it before COVID happened. We didn't know it was going to happen, but I guess instinctively we did, because we had each other through everything for the past 2 years, and we're gathering on 11/11 coming up.
Oh, cool. Very
so
cool.
that feels very, I feel like I've been feeling in that the mastermind goddess light group. And then I've just joined one recently based on building a new kind of, I guess, sacred feminine, divine feminine economic, in terms of money. I know you mentioned that, because there's been a lot of blocks, I think, especially with feminine and money, and you're supposed to be raising the kids at home, or the husband's, and doesn't want you to work, whatever those old narratives were. Seems a lot of it's ancestral. And so I would love to hear what you have to say about, conscious money and how we can use these principles to build on abundance and not lack, that I think has been kind of stuck in a lot of our bones and organs and whatever.
Well, a lot came up for me when you were talking, but it is a real 3rd dimensional kind of yin yang about not enough money or enough money, not enough time, all of those things that we're taught are deficient for some reason, or we don't have access to it, or we're not worthy of it. That's a big one. We don't deserve it. those kind of things. And because you remember the reading that you did a few years ago, everybody comes in with the blueprint, right? And so that is something that that we work on in the signature cell healings, because the blueprint that you come in with we believe is found in the signature cell in the pineal gland in the center of your head. And that gets activated when you do the signature cell healings. And also we can actually look at it in a Lemurian astrology reading where you see the chart. And I put those two together. First, of course, I had the signature cell healing and I was healing people. And then I was kind of dabbling with astrology and getting readings from various astrologers, and finally found one that really resonated with me. And so I started studying at the Shamanic Astrology Mystery School, which was based in Tucson at that time. But I put the 2 and 2 together because my healing clients started having, these various issues like lack, or I'm not worthy of this, or this kind of thing. And then I was just thought, I wonder if they give me their birth date and time, I could look up their chart and see what does it look like. And then I realized, hey, this is the blueprint I'm looking at. I'm looking at their blueprint. And it became so sacred to me. I felt like, oh my God, I'm looking at the blueprint that's in their head. I mean, I could feel it when I did the healings, but there was something that I could actually show them. And so, and actually, I didn't show them for a while because I didn't do readings, but I just kind of used it to help them in the healings because it gave me insights. But a lot of that, my point in saying that also is that we come in with these issues, with these issues of abundance, or these issues of lack, or I'm going to experience being poor in this lifetime just so I can heal, evolve, and understand I don't have to be poor if I don't want to. That can be in somebody's blueprint. So all of these things, I think it's really important. It was important for me, and I like it for my clients, for them to start to identify what are the issues, what are the healing points that they kind of came in to work on in a lifetime. And it could go back many past lives that people have come in repeatedly with this same issue. And it now, because we're at this great shift in consciousness, these things kind of come up really strongly for people, because many of us are not coming back here. I'm not coming back here after the great shift, right? So we want to get our stuff healed. And so it becomes really contentious sometimes. And we'll bring up people, like in the groups, you might have people come up that are really reflecting those issues for you. So if you have especially a goddess group, which I say, if it's women, it's a goddess group. And we are very good at reflecting for each other what we need to see. And for me in the beginning, that was really hard. That was so hard. I so wanted to point the finger at the other people, but you cannot do that and have any kind of evolutionary growth. At some point, we've all got to say, okay, what is the point here? What is the message for me in this argument, or in this, whatever I see in the other person? Because especially if you're in a mastermind, the reflection becomes really strong. So the 10 principles, and I've done this, I've done workshops on the 10 principles where you go through each of the principles, and it's really powerful, because everybody gets a chance to explore each one. And someone, like in Truth, Trust, and Passion, in the first 3 principles, for me, it's the big one is trust. So I feel the truth and I know the truth, but I don't always trust the truth. And that'll pull me off in another direction. I have plenty of passion. And I feel like I'm connected to the truth, but I don't trust those things. So I have to, I'm trying to trust them better. So that everybody has a different one that they're kind of working through, so we can help each other. That's the fun thing about it.
I love that. You know the truth, but you need to trust it.
Yeah, instinctively and through guidance, I get shown these things, and then I think, I mean, kind of like with what I was talking about with the Voyaging Foods. I know I love poi. I haven't eaten poi in a long time, and so when I saw your video the other day, I thought, I gotta get some poi. And it tasted so good.
Oh, doesn't it? It's like it's eating light, honestly.
Yeah, it's smooth. It just feels so good going down.
It does. I had a reading once on Maui, and I'm always working on connecting with my ancestors, and that's always my kind of like yearning and journey, because I didn't know them. I didn't know my one of my grandmothers, but I feel her so much. And so I was, always just thinking like, oh, I'd love to just know if I'm on the right path, or what does she think about that, or, just something. And the channeler said, I don't know why I want to say this, and it sounds so weird. It was like hard for her even to say this, and I was like, what, just say it. And she goes, they're just telling me to eat me. They're saying eat me. And she goes, I don't even know what that means. And I was like, I do. I know what that means. I have to eat taro. I get it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
She was just like, I don't know. It's the weirdest thing. I have never felt this way before. Like, I don't even really want to say what they're saying to me. I was like,
you just got to channel it.
Yeah. And I go, don't worry, I understand. She was, thank goodness, because it sounded so weird to me.
Well, when you think about that, because think about taro and the plant, the kalo plant, the meaning of it, because that's our ancestor. That's the ancestor of humans, right? And so to say, eat the food and eat me, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Makes total sense.
It was like, oh my gosh, wow, that is some heavy stuff,
Yeah.
like, so every time I have it, or I cook it, or whatever I do, I always really look at it as it's our ancestor. I mean,
Yes.
The skin looks very skin-like. I mean, it sounds kind of weird when you're talking about, when we're, and I'm talking about this way, but it is meant to, we're all connected.
Yes.
And that's the whole message. So
yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that's why I was brought to all of this, and why I was brought back to Hawaii. It was because I am just another voice in tarot, and why we need to eat more of it. And if I can use my own personal story, which is being gluten-free and not being able to eat anything, basically, before gluten-free was a thing, I had to start making taro flour, and it really was from a dream. It wasn't because I knew this or I knew that. I had no history in any of it. So I think that's the beauty of this whole story is, I was raised Westernized. I didn't know much about my culture, didn't know really anything about tarot, but yet it's such a connection when you get it. It's like you can't turn away from it. Right. And it just, speaks to me now so deeply that I just love it so much. I mean, I love to eat it, but we have to remind ourselves to keep eating these foods too. Right. And because the more we eat them, the more they grow, they're grown, which is the ultimate. We need to keep growing these.
Right. You have an amazing mission too. And just for me personally, reconnecting with you has really helped me on the physical level, because I was looking, because I'm a supporter of the Hopulea and the Voyaging Society, Polynesian Voyaging Society. Here's my shirt.
Yes.
Because they're ready to do this monumental voyage around the Pacific, which is Lemuria. Lemuria took up the whole Pacific. So they are activating all the points around of Lemuria. And to me, when I heard that's what they're going to do, there's next big voyage, I was like, oh my God, I'm so with you. I'm sending light to every place and every part. And the connection of that is just so strong. Of course, then I saw Voyaging Foods, right? Then I realized, oh, of course, it makes perfect sense. That Voyaging Foods are what they can carry on board.
Yeah.
And those are all the foods that taste really good to me. And I think I'm like you. My parents were born in California. I was born in California. I didn't come here, until I was 9. And so I had to, as soon as I got here, I resonated and started learning Hawaiian, even in those days, in the late 60s, I started teaching myself Hawaiian. Everybody was kind of thinking, what is this little howly girl doing here? And so,
great.
I reconnected too with that. And so what I wanted to talk about too was the connection of the Hokulea to the energy of Lemuria, because the Hokulea, of course, is the star Arcturus. That's the Hawaiian name for the star Arcturus. And the sister star to that is the other voyaging canoe, Hikianalia. And Hikianalia is the name for the star Spica. And Spica, I freaked out when I went to because through the Lemurian astrology that I developed from the Shamanic Astrology Mystery School, it's very important to get outside and look at the stars. So that's what I always tell anybody, whatever kind of reading they're having, is go out and look at the stars, connect with the energies. You're going to be so surprised what you discover. And when I went once to one time I was at the Bishop Museum to the planetarium, and they were showing what are the stars that the navigators are looking for in order to go to Tahiti and to come back on the voyaging canoes, the va'a, right? The canoes, we'll call them canoes. But what they look for when they come back, and this is the way I understand it, I hope I'm getting this right, is they see Hokulea and Hikianalia parallel at the horizon, and they know that they're going the right way.
Wow.
So that's Arcturus, and the other one is Spica, and Spica is known as kind of the substitute for Venus. It's a goddess star because it's the hand of the virgin priestess, Virgo. And that is what I consider Mother Earth, is Virgo. And so imagine the connections, all of the connections of that, way back into Lemuria. And also we're talking a little bit, or we wanted to talk a little bit about the Makali'i, which are the Pleiades, and the Lemurians and the Hawaiians connect very deeply into the star system. So not to go too far out there, but in meditation, I can recommend everybody just connect up into go past the atmosphere in your meditation. If you're a meditator, you know what I'm talking about. Get out of your body and go up above your body, above the atmosphere, and have a look and see what's going on up there, because it's a busy place. There's on an etheric level, there are craft, and there are other planetary energies, or other galactic energies that are helping us now through this great shift. And if anybody's listening that's not into that, they're gonna think I'm nuts. But if you're a meditator and you try it, you might be surprised what you find.
I love that. I do that, so I don't think you're nuts. I do it all the
less
time.
and less feel that I'm nuts, but thank you.
Yeah, I mean, why not have the, think big. We've been thinking small for way too long. So,
and there's help. That's the thing. So we think, well, how the heck are we ever going to get out of this situation? Right. But a lot of it, when we get back to consciously creating now, it's about what our focus is on. So we need to focus on what is positive for us. What's positive, what's our vision and our mastermind. So if you for example have a vision of a better world with better food, farmers that can help. We can help farmers, and farmers can help us. And the small farmers expand instead of being, cut out. That we have more sustainable world. I think everybody wants that. If we focus on that, we're energizing that, and that becomes a mastermind, a global mastermind. So I actually have every month, 3 nights before the full moon, we do a global healing meditation for Mother Earth. And I think it's maybe a good idea that I mentioned that as well.
Please.
Because it's coming up, let's see, what is it? This month is going to be the 16th of November. Okay. And the way this works, and I've been doing it with goddess groups and it expanded around the world. So there's people now, after 20 years of doing this, there's people all around the world that kind of key into this. So wow. At 9 o'clock our local time, so anywhere you are on the planet, okay. At 9 p.m. your local time, go into meditation. And we like to do the 5 breath self-healing meditation, which is just a breathing technique that you could find out about on signaturecellhealing.com. But if you get into meditation, come into your heart, send your light down into the core of Mother Earth through your feet, and then draw it back up again into your heart, and then send your light into Diamond Head Crater. And you get in there, and by the time we get there, from the Hawaiian people that in Hawaii, there's been people from all around the world, because we're the last time zone. So that place is popping when you get there at 9. And it's a short meditation. It can be as long as you want, but most people 15, 30 minutes, something like that. Okay. And our focus for the last few months has been the water systems of Mother Earth. So when we get in there, we create a weave of light and then send it around the planet. So imagine when you go there in meditation, you're sitting in the Kukui Grove in Diamond Head Crater. And I have some photos on my website so you can kind of see where that is. Then just see a weave of light going around the planet and energizing, in this case, this month, we're energizing all the water systems, which would be the oceans, the rivers, the seas, and healing having that as a focus for healing the planet. And we do that every month, 3 nights before the full moon. And I put out an announcement in my newsletter and on Facebook and Instagram.
I am going to be there for sure. That is very exciting to me.
Kind of fun. I mean, it's fun it's great to heal the planet, and it's a great connector of light workers all around the world.
Thank you so much for that. Do you why 3 nights before the full moon and not the actual full moon?
Because the full moon itself is such a powerful energy. When you have the light of the sun on the moon and lighting it up, there can be, like, for example, I think this month is also an eclipse. There's a almost total lunar eclipse that we can see here in Hawaii on the I think it's the 9th. Let me just get it right. The night of the 18th for us, and it starts about 8 o'clock, goes to about midnight. So it's good timing for us. So there can be the full moon is more powerful. So we prepare the planet for that energy. And that's the reason for doing it in advance of the full moon.
I see.
So we're creating that protective weave and healing weave around the planet.
This is amazing. I love that. I've been studying a lot of quantum, I guess you could say, like bioresonance. We have this device that I've been working on, and it's been really teaching me a lot on how, that works. More about how meditation works, because you really need to pair this intention with the energy, and we all can connect in the information field.
Yes.
And I kind of, circling back to how I started in the beginning, whereas this technology is now really at our fingertips, stuff that Tesla was doing and George Van Tassel and all of these amazing like inventors so far in the past. Now it's kind of like there's too many of it that they can't, they can't keep it under wraps anymore.
Right.
And we're utilizing it, and it's at our fingertips. And being able to connect in the information field with other people, that is quite amazing. I was supposed to be in a meditation retreat this week. It was online, but I couldn't. They're very strict about being, because you get blessed and then you have to sit on this wool mat. I've never heard about it, and I was so excited to be invited, but they're very, strict on how long you do this, and then we all connect in this way, and it's all been happening. And yet you think, why aren't people screaming from the building tops? You need to do this. It's here. It's that kind of thing where I just, like you want to share it because it's personal. It's helped so many people, and it is. And sometimes when it seems like it's too big, like, how do I dream that big to clean up all the waterways in the earth? I can't even see if I did any work, if it really helped.
Well, interesting. You say one thing that Master Guide Carol always told us in the beginning was, don't shout from the rooftops. And I wondered why not? We got great stuff here.
Yeah.
For me, I want to go tell everybody. But what he meant was that we work on ourselves. I'm healing myself is what I'm doing. And I continue to do that. And as I heal myself, I know that other people are going to see my light, and they're going to want to know, what did I do to get to where I am? Mm-hmm. And I don't have to shout from the rooftops. I don't have to tell people, go there, meditate this, people will, if people want to know, they're going to ask me like you did. Mm-hmm. And then I can share. So in general, just getting back to what you were talking about, the geniuses that have brought through a lot of this technology, I feel a lot of that, computers and everything, was galactic inspired. Yeah. So those guys are really just channels for other world, other planetary energies, other galactic energies that have come through and brought us what we need for our great shift. And I thank them for it, but we feel like, okay, well, it came from humans, so it's probably human. And maybe it is, but maybe they had a little help from other realms. And what we learn in getting back to consciously creating is something called sleep state programming. And that would be the powerful 9th principle. And that is when before you go to sleep, and this is just a real simple explanation of it. Before you go to sleep, you tell your higher self to visit another person or other people, their higher selves, to connect and to work with you on a certain project or a mastermind or whatever you want to work with them on. Even if you're having like an argument with someone, you could send your higher self to that person's higher self, and you wouldn't have to talk to them at all. And you might think, well, hey, how's that work? But it works because of just what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Is there's a weave of consciousness that surrounds the planet. Mm-hmm. And if you go into meditation, when you go into meditation, you can go up through that. And what what you might see is the weave of negative thoughts called the over mastermind. There's a negative thought weave that you can light up. So years ago, we used to do that. We used to go meditate and see that. I would see that it's like a lid on a pot, and then I would send light into it. And then you see another light there and another light there. And gradually we enlighten that weave with our positive, loving thoughts. So you can get up above that weave, shine light down on it, connect with other people in a positive way. But there is a weave around the planet that is the traditional 3rd dimensional yin yang way of thinking that keeps people in a certain, consciousness, a level of consciousness. It's all about levels of love awareness. So if your level of love And there's no good or bad here, because there's all kinds of souls on the planet. There are young souls, there are medium-aged souls, there are old souls, and we're all trying to evolve our soul. That's why we're here. We're healing and evolving our soul. And so, you know, that knowing that helped me not get angry at people, because you think they're just trying to evolve. They're just trying these things, and they might be a younger soul. So how can I enlighten, and how can I send them light? And part of it is doing that sleep state programming, where you connect your higher self to their higher self.
I really like that idea. That's really helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I feel like we could do this all the time. I mean,
well, just so you know, on the Signature Cell Healing website, there are lots of MP3s, downloadable MP3s that people can purchase in the store that are about different aspects of the 10 principles. There's all the original recordings that created the book. There's the book, ebook, print book, you know, different sessions we had about the 10 principles that might be really helpful to people.
Okay, I will. Thank you so much.
I want to let people remember my website at KarinnaNielsen.com, where you can read more about Lemuria, and I have regular channelings there, you know, as well as readings.
Thank you. I'll put that on the final when we upload this. And, you know, thank you so much. I hope we can talk more. I want to be there for the full moon meditations every month. So maybe I can remind everybody to go there. And thank you for, you know, years ago coming into my life and re-entering again now at this really opportune, auspicious time. So
likewise.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to stop recording and
okay, thank you, Brynn.
Say goodbye to everybody.
Bye-bye. See you soon.
Aloha.
Aloha.